Okay.
Horrie, how are you?
Good, good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, but you've just said you've got COVID. That's not a good start.
No, no. Well, it's the times we live in, mate.
That's,
If you haven't had it at least twice now,
oh, well.
then you're missing out.
Oh, well, that's right. Listen, I wanted to have a chat to you about not just running, but just your 6 foot track journey, because you've done so much running. I've been thinking about this on my ride today when I got a flat tire as I was running back. Um,
Oh, really? Oh,
um,
that's one thing I hate about riding flat tires. I don't know how to fix them.
yeah, I fixed it all right, but I think I pinched it again, so I had no
Uh,
spares and I couldn't get the pump to work. But
uh-huh.
my it's not my first memory of you, Horrie Glen. Everyone gets confused. Horrie's your cool. Timmy's in the background. Your cool running name. I'm
Yeah.
My first memory that's really vivid of you and running. It was a Striders run at Lane Cove. And I'd
Uh-huh.
signed up in 2005 just to get a bit of some runs in on the Saturday morning to build strength for 6 foot track in 2005. And I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it was the same year for you. And you ran 42 minutes, collapsed on the finish line, and went to hospital. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. I do remember that.
How long had you been running at that stage, and what
One,
happened?
one of about three trips to hospital following 10K races. Yeah. I don't know. I think I got a sort of problem with my blood sugar levels, and when I overexert myself, they just run too low, and basically I just run out of energy and I collapse. And luckily, every time it's happened, I've gone to hospital. They've run tests on my heart, and there's no problem. There's no major problems to my heart, but they just say you just got to take it a bit easier.
Yeah.
So
And,
yeah.
and you listen to the advice, don't you?
Oh, you do. You have to. So now, in shorter races, I don't push myself nearly as hard as I used to.
So, but at that stage, how long had you been running, and when did you decide to do the 6 foot track, and how did you hear about it?
Right. I'd been running probably about a year and a half before that. I started again. Like I ran when I was younger, but I started again in 2003. City to Surf was my first run back, um, 2003, and yeah, I joined Striders in about March of 2004 because there was a magazine at the time called Runner's World,
Yeah.
and I bought it, and it was a really good magazine. This particular issue that I bought because in it they they had a pictorial and a story on the 6 foot track,
Yeah.
right? Because it was around that time of year, and I said to Belinda, "Wow, have a look at this. There's this run that goes from Katoomba to Jenolan Caves, And then said, that's amazing, like I'd never heard of anything like that, you know what I mean? Trail running or anything like that. And then I read through, and I was starting to get ideas of running my first marathon later that year at Gold Coast Marathon. And I thought, right, then I need to, if I'm going, I need to sort of come up with a plan because it was about March and I hadn't till July. So I had about 4 months. I had it was about 17 or 18 weeks out. And so I started reading through. They also had an article on marathon training and what you needed to do to build up to a marathon. And one of the things was they said you should find a good group to train with because it's very hard to do the long runs that you need to do for a marathon on your own. And I went, okay, so I should join a club. I said to Belinda, this was one Saturday, right? So it happened over sort of several hours. I was reading through this magazine, and then so it said join a club. And then another part of it talked about good running websites, right? And and it was coolrunning.com.au. And I went, oh, okay. Because this website has everything you need to know about running it. You know, you can find a club, you can find all the events. And I went, oh, wow. And so I've looked on it, I found it, and I was just amazed with everything that was on this website, you know, including the message boards, which I, you know, had no idea. That's not the reason I went onto it in the first place. But I just came across that, and people were talking about events. I went, oh, wow. Like, I said to Belinda, look, there's this whole sort of subculture out there, you know, where they're talking about all these things that the average person just doesn't know about, you know. And so the rest of that day I was just looking at the boards. I was looking at, they had a function in there, find a running club, and they said, you know, so had a running clubs in Sydney, and then and so I looked at what the training consisted of and what would be most appropriate. And then I found Sydney Striders and said, we do group runs of up to 30 Ks every Sunday. And I thought, that's what you need. That's what the magazine said I needed to do. I need to find a running club to, you know, a group to do these 30K training runs with. So so I joined that day, joined Striders that day as well. And then I thought, oh, I said to Belinda, I just joined today. You reckon I can go for the run tomorrow? She goes, I don't know. Is there a number you can call? So yes, there was. There was a after I joined it, on the Striders website said, you know, contact us. So I rang this number, and I spoke to Steve Jackson, and I said, hi, I've just joined the club, and it mentions that you do these training runs of up to 30 kilometres every week. I said, would I be able to join in tomorrow? And he goes, oh, that's an odd request. I've never had a request like this before. He said, yeah, but if you've joined, yeah, there's no worries. Of course you can, you know. So he said, do you know where it is? I said, yeah, I looked at your calendar. It's out at, I was out at Deepwater Reserve or something, out at, out that way, just past Willoughby, you know what I mean? And so Roseville, I think, you know. So anyway, so so he said, yeah, just go along, ask the host, tell him you're new, tell him Stephen sent you, and he'll sort of match you up with somebody of your ability. Okay. So anyway, I turned up the next day and next morning, and I was there, and it was very busy. I was a bit overawed because there was like so many people there, and they were talking about, you know, a lot of people were getting ready for the 6 foot track marathon the next week, so they weren't going to run too long, and I went, wow, it's all happening here, you know. So anyway, this bloke said, oh, what do you run 10K in? And I hadn't done a 10K race in like 20 years. I said, oh, I don't know. I said, when I ran 20 years ago, I did it in about 40 minutes, but I've got no idea what I do it in now. And he went, oh, you'd be too fast for us. I go, no, I'm not too fast for you. I'm just starting up again. I've probably been running for about six to 8 months at this stage. You know what I mean? I said, so, you know, I haven't done any races since I've been back running. It's just been training. And I'm, you know, wanting to run my first marathon in July. I'm just here to do the long runs. And he said, okay. And so anyway, he introduced me to Jim Moody. And Jim Moody was taking the marathon training group at that time. And he said, yeah, well, you know, we're in the middle of getting ready for Canberra, which is next month. So you've probably come at a bad time because, you know, the group's doing 30K today. And I went, oh, okay. I said, well, I ran 20 last week. But 30 might be a bit much. I was thinking maybe 25. He said, yeah, well, I'm doing 6 foot next week, so I might drop back to 25. I might do 25 myself, and you can come with me. Oh, okay, great. So I'm running along, and and he's going, how's it going? And I'm going, oh, it's a bit slow. And he goes, it's training pace. Because at that stage, I had no idea that you ran slower in training. Like every run that I did, I just went out and ran. You know what I mean? Like no idea that, if you're running long, you have to take it easier. So anyway, because we were taking it easier, yeah, it was a tough course, quite hilly and that. And he kept checking in with me. Okay, yeah, I'm fine, yeah. And anyway, we got to the point where you can turn off the 25. He said, we can turn off here, but if you look like you're handling it well, you reckon you could do 30? Because I'm thinking I might do 30 with the group. I go, yeah, let's do 30. So we did 30, and yeah. And then
that is a wonderful story. So you've gone from that. You joined the Striders.
yeah,
Correct me if I'm wrong. Your first 6 foot track was 2005.
that's right. It was a year after I joined. Yeah.
That's right. I was doing as well, but this is not about me. It's about you. You probably were running Horrie Road at that stage.
Well, you introduced me to Quarry Road. I remember I wasn't going. I wanted to because from the minute I joined Striders, I couldn't believe just how much talk there was about the 6 foot track. This race that I'd read about in the magazine. That's all anybody was talking about when that first run. Everybody was talking about the 6 foot track, 6 foot track, and so as soon as you've sort of been running with the Strides for a while, you'd be asked, "Are you doing the 6 foot track?" You know what I mean? And I said, "Yeah, I'd like to do it one day, but when I in about October, I think, of 2004, I signed up with Pat Carroll for online training.
Yeah, the legend.
Because I'd run my first marathon at Gold Coast in July. It didn't go as well as I'd hoped. Blew up at 30K basically, and anyway, it had a few walk breaks between then and the finish, but still ended up with pretty decent time of about, I think, 3:42. So it was pretty much what I was hoping for originally, but then I started getting, maybe I can go a bit quicker, and that's the problem. I started off a bit too quick and couldn't sustain it. But yeah, so my idea was when I joined Pat Carroll, I'd go and do Canberra Marathon the next year and try to get under 3:30. And so anyway, everybody was doing the 6 foot track. Everybody in Striders, then by that stage, I'd become active on the Cool Running message boards. Everybody on Cool Running was doing it. But I thought, no, I said to Pat, oh, do you reckon I could just do it as a training run? He goes, no, you don't do the 6 foot track as a training run. Have you seen how tough it is? And I said, oh, yeah, I looked at the course profile. It looks pretty hilly. I said, but I wouldn't be smashing myself. I said, just be sort of jogging it with a few mates. He goes, oh, I've never heard anybody say they're just going to go and jog the 6 foot track. And I honestly, I had no idea what I was talking about because I hadn't even been out there for a training run, right? And so anyway, he said, no, you're not going to run it. Your goal's Canberra Marathon. And so anyway, I was training hard, and then, as you mentioned earlier, I then had that episode at the Lane Cove 10K, where
February from memory.
February, yeah, it was very hot and humid, and Pat Carroll had laid down the challenge for me to break 40 minutes. And at that stage, I hadn't even gone under 42 minutes. I thought it was a bit ambitious, but again, he's the coach. He knows what sessions I've been doing. He wouldn't tell me to do something I'm not capable of. And anyway, it was going really well for the first half. I remember I got to halfway pretty much just under 20. So I thought, yeah, downhill on the way back, I should be able to do it. And then at about 7 or 8K, everything just became a blur, and I blacked out basically. I was still moving, but I'd lost sort of my consciousness, my awareness of what was going on around me. And apparently what they tell me, I got to the finish line. Just after I got to the finish line, I just collapsed, you know. So yeah, so anyway, I got taken to hospital, and I was in there. I started sort of scratching my head, talking to doctors, trying to work out what happened. And anyway, I decided then and there, I'm not, you know, bugger this, you know, going all out for fast times now. You know what I mean? So I emailed Pat Carroll saying, look, mate, sorry, but I don't know if you heard, but I collapsed on Saturday, and I've decided not to continue with your program, and thanks for all your help, blah, blah, blah. And then,
okay.
yeah, because in my initial feelings was I wanted to blame him because he set me set the bar too high, try to get me running faster than I was capable of. So it's a bit hard, you know. Your online coach, you've never met him, you know what I mean? It was just he doesn't know me, I don't know him, and you know, but he knew from the times I was doing my sessions, he knew that I was probably pretty much close to it anyway. But you know, he probably didn't know the course profile of Lane Cove being so hilly. You know, I don't know. Anyway, so there I was in hospital, you know, contemplating what went wrong, and then of course all the talk was still about 6 foot track the next month, right? And Dave Gray come in to visit me, and he said, "Oh, how you going?" I said, "Yeah, well, Bill, I just want to get out of here now. You know, I feel like I've recovered. Don't think they can do anything more in here for me. I just want to get home." And but they wouldn't let me go home until I did the stress test, the cardiac stress test. So anyway, I said, "You're not going to believe this." He said, "Oh, how are you feeling? You know, have you been reevaluating things?" I said, "Yeah, I have actually." I said, "You're not going to believe what I'm going to tell you next." And he goes, "Okay, what is it?" I said, "I've decided to chuck in Pat Carroll, and I want to enter the 6 foot track next month." Because that's it. Back in those days, there was no caps. There was like no entry limits. I remember we talked to Kevin Tiller at one point. Are you ever going to put a cap on this race? Oh, I don't know. You know, at the moment, I think back in those days, they used to get about 600 or 700. He said we can cope with 600 or 700. There's been no need to put any limits on it. You know what I mean? Yeah. He goes, we might have to have that conversation one day, but until we get to that point, it's just yet. So, and I was going to volunteer that year, and anyway, I rang him and said, "Look, I hate to do this to you a couple of weeks out from the event, but I can't volunteer for you." "Oh, that's okay." "Oh, yeah. What's the reason, if you don't mind me asking?" I said, "I'm going to enter. I'm going to run." And he just shook his head. He went, "Oh, okay." I said, "Oh, I'm not racing it. I just want to, you know, I just want to go out. I just want to go and experience it." You know what I mean?
Well, and you definitely did. So let's recap here. You started back running. You did. You collapsed and was in hospital a month beforehand. You had a good relationship with a coach that didn't quite work because of the speed, but you left on good terms. And 3 weeks later, you were you're at the 6 foot track. So let's go to race day now. But before we do,
it was about 5 weeks, five weeks from collapse day to 6 foot. Yeah.
Okay. So
and 4 weeks the week before, because you'd been doing a lot of runs out at Quarry Road, getting ready for your 6 foot debut. We decided you decided to introduce me to. I said, "Oh, let's go and have a run out at Quarry Road." So we met on a Saturday afternoon. There was me, you, Sebastian, and I think Fergus from memory. There was about 4 of us went out there and did a lap of Quarry Road. And so there we were. Next week we were at the 6 foot track.
So before we go to this one race, let's just jump forward to 2023. How many 6-foot tracks have you done to give us context?
I've done 16 now.
Right, 16. So we're not going to do all 16. Let's go to the first race and let's have a bit of a synopsis of that one, because I want to keep this little, this chat tight so we don't go on too long.
Yeah, of course. Okay? Yeah.
Let's jump to race day. And I remember very well, but my story can come another time. Let's have your version.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
So we got up to there on the Friday afternoon. We drove to the start line and I said to Glen, I want to have a look at what this track's all about. Anyway, I just walked down to the gate of Nellie's Glen, and even that was, I'm going, geez, this is a lot tougher than what I thought. Maybe I've bitten off more than I can chew, you know what I mean? I said, anyway, I've signed up now. So anyway, we went back to our hotel the next day, got up, got there, and as you can remember, there was quite a few of us that year doing our first 6-foot track. And it was just a bundle of nervous energy, excitement, you know what I mean? It was just unbelievable. We were all, I guess, in a bit of a bewilderment of what we've done to ourselves. I remember seeing you, and you look absolutely petrified at one point. And but I think we were all feeling that way. We were really we just didn't know what we'd sort of done. We knew it was going to be big, but so back in those days, they didn't really put you into starting ways, or maybe they did, but I remember thinking, when Kevin asked me what wave do I want to go in, I said, I'll just go in the pack wave, because I really just want to have a run with Blue, And anyway, so they put me in the last wave, but little did I know, they put you in the starting wave ahead of me. And so I thought, that didn't work out, did it? So like my idea of just, going to the 6-foot track, having a nice friendly run with you and, chewing the fat while we ran, and that just didn't turn out. So
I'll just jump in there. In the end, it was the right decision because you caught me, but you'll get to that later on.
Yeah. So what we decided to do, I was with Sebastian running down to the single track at Cox's River, and there was this big Congo line, and we decided we were going to go on what we called our Plu hunt. and we were I was shouting out, "Woo!" to see if you could hear me. I didn't know how far ahead of me you were at that point, but we were just having fun. And then we're running along the single track in this Congo line, and my first lesson about technical trail running: don't take your eyes off the trail, because 1 minute Sebastian's saying, "Oh," I said, "I wonder where Plu is." "Oh," he said, "he's probably down at Cox's River with his laptop doing a mid-race before." Because even back then you were a prolific blogger, and we thought, "Oh, you probably set the laptop up, got to take a few photos, like letting people know how your 6-foot track race is going." And next minute I'm laughing and not looking at where I'm going, and then the next minute, bang, straight down. I had about 2 or 3 falls on that single track that day going down the Cox's River, just because I wasn't used to running technical single trail. You know what I mean? Where you got to watch where your feet are going every step. Rather than I wanted to admire the view. I wanted to see the river. I've never seen the river. Here I am in this place I've never been before. But as we've learned since then, 6-foot track's not a sightseeing run. You've got to focus on what you're doing. So we got down the river and it was good. And then
so that's around 14 Ks, and we have mini after
about 15 Ks, and anyway, we crossed the river, and then we, the first bit of an incline, because we been to Quarry Road the week before, and we were running the inclines. I just started running, and Sebastian goes, "Oh, I don't run after the river." What are you talking about? He goes, "Oh no, mate. No, you'll see how steep they are, mate. You don't run." And I'm going, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to run the bits I can run, and I guess I'll see you later." So I said, I'm going to see. I'm going to see if I can catch flu.
So I'm just going to pause.
So anyway,
I'm going to pause you here now, because as I was running along, faster runners than me were coming from your wave, were passing me, and I had on the back of my shirt, I had the Striders top on that race. It's actually
you
behind me
did.
now. It's up there, and on the back of it in yellow, I had flu written on it, and
That's it.
people were running by me saying, "There's some guy behind you calling out your name. You better wait for him."
Yeah, like I said, everybody would have heard me.
Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, so anyway, I started. I was still running the bits I could, and then of course as it got steep, I just started hiking and just just what was unfolding in front of me. Like here, I'd never seen these climbs before, and really quite big, and we were just marching, and in my head, the vision I got was of the prisoners of war, on the death march. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, oh, this is what they must have felt like. But the only thing is, we're not walking to our death. We're going to Jenolan Caves. So, but just because of how how arduous it was and how tough it was, and I'm thinking, and like Sebastian's words are still ringing in my ear. You don't run there, no. We weren't running there, mate. So, but even I developed quite a quick hike, considering I hadn't done any training for it. But I was very fit at that stage. So I just started walking, and then started catching quite a few, and then I remember on one climb up towards the saddle, I caught Sarge, and he was doing his first one as well, like a lot of us. And so anyway, we ran together over the saddle, sort of together down to Alum Creek, and then we got to the first of the creek crossings, and I was still in the mode, oh, you don't get your feet wet, because people weren't crossing the river. When we crossed the river, we sort of skipped stones, so we didn't get our feet wet. But I've since realised it's all the sort of grit that you get from the bottom of Cox's River that gets in your shoes that's a problem. It's not so much getting your feet wet. But so here I am dilly-dallying across this creek, and Sarge just ploughed on straight on through. And that was the last I saw of him. I think he put about 15 minutes on me from there to the finish.
I remember that because I remember I crossed the creek, and I basically fell on my face on purpose and sort of waded across to not have my feet in the sand. Anyway,
yeah. So anyway, yeah, just kept from just hiking up those hills, and every now and again I'd call out woo, and then I think not long before the pluviometer, as it turned out, there you were, just up ahead. I went, oh, you're here.
I remember that because, like you, I was meeting people that I had met online and hadn't seen for a while, and Pete Trumper ran up behind me with Jane, and Jenny knows Pete from school days, and Pete worked with my brother at the time, so we were chatting away. And then we both heard you call out pluvio, pluvio, or something like that. Anyway, Pete and Jane kept on running, and then you soon caught me, and we chatted for a couple of minutes. Then you went past. Now, from memory, pluvio is about 5K's climb, isn't it, with switchbacks?
Yeah, it's about from the bottom of Alum Creek to Pluvio is probably about 4.5K. Yeah.
Long climb. Anyway, you were long gone. You were on the Black Range by the time I got to the top. What happened for the rest of the race then?
Yeah, I just remember just being in the zone, and having all the aid stations there. Like you never felt like you're thirsty. It was really good, and just running and walking and just passing a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now, these days when I do it, everybody's passing me. But that first one, I was just enjoying it. I was having a ball. You know what I mean? Like, it was just because I hadn't planned to run it, just being out there and just doing it and just realizing how much fun it was. Like, honestly, that first run, it was just. I just thought of it as just a magical day out. It wasn't in my mind as, oh, I've got to do this race. It was just I was out on an adventure.
So you got to the end of Black Range, then you did deviation, the sort of the ups and downs, cross the Geelong Caves Road, and then headed on the downhill bit. Tell me how you were feeling when you got to the concrete pathway and could hear the crowd.
Yeah, I remember passing quite a few people in that section from Caves Road, and I said to Barry Rudder, who's a long time strider, he's about 10 years older than me or so, and I said, mate, it's all downhill from here. He goes, yeah, but that's no good if you're cramping. And I was that first year, because I wasn't pushing that hard, I didn't really get any major cramp issues. So I was just trotting along, still passing lots of people, and and then you got to the concrete, as you say, like just near Carlotta's Arch there, and I could hear the noise from down below, and it was like, wow, I'm going to finish. You know what I mean? And I remember like just the emotion that the closer I got to the finish, and then when I finished, it was just the feeling was just amazing. That finish of the 6 foot track. I don't think any of all the races I've done, nothing beats it. You know what I mean? Because you're just in this sort of small area where there's a lot of people shouting and the cowbells ringing, and you know what I mean? It was just magical. I can still remember, and Belinda was there at the finish line waiting for me. So yeah, no, it was really, really special feeling. Remember?
Just to my right, you can't see it, but you've seen it in the past. I've got that photo that Mohammed took of you, myself, Belinda, and I think Auntie Karen.
Yes.
Race.
Yeah, that's a great photo. I noticed that you have that in a frame.
Yeah, no, it's a good photo. That's the sort of race where I remember signing off Cool Running the night before on the Friday, saying see you on the other side, and it's a bit like that.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, the first time. Well, listen, that's a wonderful start for the first of the 16. That's an amazing.
Yeah. If only they were all that good.
So we'll have another chat in relation to the rest of them, but other races you've done, like Badwater. I keep forgetting that. And you did Western States too, didn't you?
Yeah, Western States is part of the.
And you've done the Coast to Cozzy.
Part of the Aussie Assault did Western States in 07. Yeah, 3 Coast to Cozzies.
So we could go forever talking about this. I'm going to pull up stumps on this one now and stop the recording. But stay there. And is there anything else you want to sort of just add from the point of view of those, I guess, pioneering days and your journey to that point?
Yeah, like what I loved about it back then was just the simplicity of it. You know what I mean? It wasn't mainstream. Like I said, I didn't know about it until I read this magazine. But once I got into it, I realized what a big sort of subculture it was. And it was really cool back then to start, from that, then, going into the longer distance events because of the people you met. You just met some wonderful, crazy people that were doing, crazy things that I'd never thought was possible. So, yeah, whereas now there's just so much hype.
Yeah. And look, that's a wonderful way to finish it. And I think, you've inspired me to have this chat with you. And I think we might have chats with other people, Glenn, because I reckon it'll be really fun to hear people's stories. All right. Thanks so much. I'm going to pause this now, but we'll chat offline.
Okay.
All right, mate. Take care.
All right. Thank you.